Sawadee, Thailand. Thank you. I'd like to thank Thaka and CA for this kind invitation to come to Bangkok and to be experiencing what I think is a very successful forum. One of the things that I picked up is for Thailand to be doing something of this scale for the people of Thailand, which is very important in any nation building for culture and the arts. My name is Joe. I'm going to share with you my experience of running a festival in Penang, Georgetown, Penang, which is in Malaysia, which is very short distance from you all. The case study is when I started, I was asked to do a festival in 2010. And Georgetown had been inscribed as a UNESCO city with Malacca. So I've always believed in the power of a city lies in the people of the city. Two things that I always use when I plan a festival, it's about the spirit of place, mana, the land energy, and I think Bangkok certainly stands out as one of the most interesting spaces, comparable to New York, the energy and the pulsating earth energy and the people here, you have it all. The other thing is storytelling. It's very important for us Asians to tell our own story. And I think an earlier speaker, I thought, pointed it out really, really well. Why are we Asians looking at the West for our benchmark or our narrative when it's important to have our own story and who we are? Thailand is 1,000 years old in culture, so you all have it. This is Georgetown. As you can see, it's a city that was supposedly founded by the British, but we were there before the British came. We had traders from China, from India, from other parts of Southeast Asia that came and built a city that is architecturally very, very beautiful. We have Dutch, Portuguese, Chinese architecture. And the reason why we had the UNESCO listing in 2010 is because of the outstanding universal values, which is food, tradition, religious harmony, and people. I've always felt the most important part of any nation building or any festival is the people of the country. I've always, again, like I said, culture is the soul of a city. Without it, a city is just bricks and mortar. And I think what's interesting about Thailand is Thailand has everything from nature to tradition to storytelling. I used to come here every weekend to see your Chatuchat market. And I think, I don't know, 20 years ago, there was a show called Big Gift Fair, Bangkok International Gift Fair. And I remember how inspired I was seeing how the government or your people bring in the best of the West, but still focusing on your local talent. It wasn't about showing the West, but helping your own people grow. And what I see now, it has certainly grown. Penang is very funny. We've been around from 1786, and we've had many, many very famous people that have come to Penang to visit it. Like Bangkok, you don't need to have a festival for people to come to Bangkok. People will come to Bangkok anyway. I was a festival director for 9 years, for 2010 to 2018. It started off with the chief minister telling me that let's try to celebrate a festival in our city. At that time, it was an opposition state. We had no money. We certainly don't have facilities like this. And it was a starting point. This is the festival. So for 9 years, I started with 2 weeks to plan. My first festival in 2010, I was given 2 weeks to plan, very little money, but a very supportive chief minister who whispered to me that if I ever needed help, please call him. And at that time, the woman who was my boss is now the mayor of Kuala Lumpur, who whispered to me, please help us. So I decided that I was going to take on this job to plan a festival. I didn't know what to do, but I started looking at who are we? What is the city about? So with Georgetown, the city is about our history, our people, our spaces, our food, our tradition, which I think is the key word that I use to guide me to do the festival. We are also very lucky that in the 9 years that I did the festival, we worked on a very, very small budget. I didn't have international media agency. We all did it in-house with young Penang talent and young, my theory was build your own team, build your staff. So I had 15 young people all working for me, and they worked for the whole year for the festival. So we were lucky that we had New York Times, Guardian, major international press coming over to say that this is one of the hottest festivals in Asia. And again, I was very lucky until today, 15 years later, I am still getting invited by people like CA. I'm going to Hong Kong next month, and then Shanghai. I still get invited to share how a city can be very special. But most important is the city belongs to you. It shouldn't belong to a government or an agency. It's people that's very important in any festival. I think most bosses or most sponsors or your government would want to understand the dollar sign. So in Penang, this was the last 2018 figure. The government spent 4.5 million ringgit, which is about 1 million US, and I raised another 1 million, and then we had a PR media value of 108 million. So if you're going to spend money on branding a city or promoting a city, which I think Thailand does very well with your branding campaigns, you know, Amazing Thailand, Uniquely Thailand, Very Thai, and then now I forgot the name now, about your artisans from Thailand. I think that's one of the very cleverest campaign I've seen in a long while. So it is about money. It is about why should anybody spend money on you or your creativity. And I think what is nice about this event or this forum is that everybody talks about creative economy or creative industry, but it is not about an event. It is actually about the industry. And what you all have really successful done is to have the industry here being inspiring and exposing young Thai people to something that they may want to think, hey, I can be a Thai boxer, I can be an environmentalist, I can be a dancer, I can be a writer, I can be a festival director, I can make money from my creativity. So parents would not discourage children from taking the career path of creativity. So I think events like this is very, very important. And I love the idea that you called it soft power. Soft power is when you got your buy-in from your people and all people. Can you play the video for me, please? Thank you. As you can see, I was given the task of branding Georgetown. So the whole idea is, how do you sell a city that nobody knew before as a tourist destination or as a big-time cultural hub? So my first job was, how do you bring global attention? So what I did was, I brought some really, really big names to Penang. But above and beyond the big names, I also wanted to build our own local talent. The idea of inviting international people in culture is to show that I can do that. I also want to bring my show to New York or Melbourne or India or Japan or Thailand. So the idea of bringing international shows was not just to show, but also to inspire my own people that we can get there too. I wanted to share examples of how I use spaces in Penang, because we don't have a space like this. We don't even have a national theater. We had to use a civic hall for most of the big productions. So this one is an old house in Penang. It's called the Cheong Fak Si Mansion. And I used it several times as one of the sites for the events. And I was working with her. Now she's very famous because she's an actress from Singapore, Tan Keng Hua, who was in Crazy Rich Asian. So we commissioned her to do a play about a woman, the number 7th wife of this really, really famous man that built empires all over Southeast Asia. And the play was very successful. And I think it's very important to connect. I connected a lot with Singapore because one quick flight away, people will come. It's very important to connect even with Bangkok. One quick flight away, you have an entirely new audience. And when you do something in the future, I'm hoping that if we do something in Thailand or in Malaysia, then you can bring it to Malaysia instead of to have a one audience span. So shows can travel the region. So I'm hoping that we can connect Southeast Asia. Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia would make a very good first connection. This is a mural artist that suddenly became really, really big. He came to see me in 2012. He had a wall mural that nobody liked and no one paid attention. He still now lives in Penang with his wife. And this mural has had over, I think, 10 million people which have seen it. So this was one of the main game-changing moments for Georgetown. Until today, people queue up to take this. I find it would be sad. I think we should move on from murals. This is an old fort that the English built in 1780s. I used it for a show based on martial arts of the Malays. I think in Patani you also have it. It's called Silat. I commissioned a filmmaker, theater director to put up a show, and we did the show in the fort. And I feel it's very important, at the same time, you show your city. Because if you just put shows in a hall like this, you can take the show and bring to Taiwan or Singapore. Nobody will know that it's from your city. So I believe very strongly on site-specific work. This is another project that I did, inviting an Indonesian bamboo artist. And I asked him, I said, what would you want to do? And we drove around, and he said, I want to build an installation. And the installation, as you can see, straddles the town hall and the city hall, and we had to bring in 4 containers of bamboo. But after 1 month, he produced this, and now, after this, Singapore invited him, Germany invited him, and talking about bamboo, I was here over 20 years ago when I met one of your rising big stars, Korakot Aromdi. Until today, I follow his work because he's an exceptional artist. This is the same project that I worked with Keng Hua. Only in Penang would a very rich tycoon lend you a house. They had to put aside a BBC production, and they were going to charge 300,000, which is about 80,000 US. But they gave me the building for free for 1 month. So we had a cast of Malaysian and Singaporeans, and the director worked on a story about people that used to live in these houses. So the story was about Penang. The background was Penang, and you would have seen in the video how we use it as a backdrop for one of the shows. This, I think you have a picture here too. This is an old Chinese clan house called the Kukong Si. So I invited the director to stage a play in this courtyard of this. So it was a very successful play, and because of the success, he has been supported to turn it into a movie. I've always believed that the arts is for the people. If you can make art accessible, then your people learn and see. Like the mural, I wanted it outside because for most people to walk into a gallery, it's very nerve-wracking because you don't feel as if you're clever enough or rich enough or belong to the arts that you dare not go into a gallery. But having it outside, it exposes everyone to the arts. Like this or like what you are doing. Everybody can have a look and realize, oh, I like this, or I should want a career in the arts. This is something that I was very proud of. This is a very low, poor people's high-rise buildings. But because I've always believed that art should be for the people and for everyone to have access to it, we turned this whole area into a paddy field. So for 4 months, we grew paddy right in the middle of a city. And so that everyone from the buildings can come down and watch a show based on paddy. And paddy is something that's very important to us Southeast Asian. We are connected by the ASEAN logo is like a clutch full of paddy. This is another show that I did again with Keng Hua. I think you all have the most beautiful hotel in this part of the world called the Oriental. The Oriental Hotel. This is our Eastern and Oriental Hotel by the Sarkis brothers. And we did a play also based on characters from Penang. Site-specific, we had it in the hotel. There was also for me as an impresario, it's important to then have the buy-in from Singapore. Every time I have a Singapore production, I have busloads and plane loads of people from Singapore coming to check it out. Again, this is the same area of low housing. I wanted to do a traditional showcase where people from that can come and have a look at culture without spending any money. My reason is if one small kid can think, oh, how does this work? Or I want to be an artist, then my job is done. Penang cannot beat you all. You have the most fabulous parks. I mean, all these years that I've been coming, I think you rival Central Park with your large expanse of green area, something that the Bangkok people are very, very privileged. This is a small park, and it is in a housing area, but I had small community events that showcased music from the traditional, from the different traditions of the people living in that area. And then in one of the shows that I wanted to bring is this show. I was very proud that we had it before Singapore, before Hong Kong. 100% is a show from Rimini Protocol, Germany, that brought 100 people from the community that represents 100% of the different factions, young, old, Malay, Chinese, Indian, people with special disabilities. And it's a show that's done by 100 people on stage, giving the power of, they were asked whether you think your government is corrupt, have you had cancer before? Questions, it's like a social experiment on stage. I'm very proud of this show. And then 8 years later, the people are still in a WhatsApp group. This is another social experiment that I brought to Penang. They had 30 people, Penangites, all caked in mud, responding to human commercial greed for money. So it's a really, really visually very interesting show. But these pictures travel around the world. So that's one way of selling culture, when you take it against something that you own. People cannot replicate history. People cannot replicate your buildings. This is This is one of my favorite shows. It's by a French choreographer, Jérôme Baer, and it brought in, again, about 20 over people, all shapes and sizes. It's me wanting to put Penang people on a global stage. I've always believed that your people come first. They may not be great performers, but they have a chance to be performing in really, really big international shows. This is the show that I mentioned, The Girl in the Wheelchair. Okay, I brought in world-class shows like the one in the center, the Shaolin Monks, is a very famous Belgian choreographer that went for 3 months to learn from the Shaolin monks and did a whole show that now 12 years later, it is still traveling the world. The one at the bottom in red is Sufi musicians that he has cleverly packaged and put in red boxes. And that show has traveled the world. So my idea of bringing these type of shows is to show that you can repackage tradition, not change it, and have a global audience. And I think it's something Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand needs to raise our bar. How do we sell our culture to the Western people with their Western taste buds? I've always felt that secondary cities have an edge. So we started with Cebu, Chiang Mai, Penang, and all that, because we can act without the official government. But I've always believed that you should support your government. If your government doesn't know, help them, teach them, hold their hand. I don't believe in being anti-government. I know it's very, very difficult to play the political card. I have never played the political or the religious card. But you need the support of your government and your people. And the role of a festival director is to connect people with government. Thank you. I think I've finished a bit earlier. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, CA and TACA. Thank you, Thailand. Khop kun ka.